Greetings, Grand Rising, and yes, we are back. Going to go ahead and share this over to Funky Book. Oh, they got this thing dragging, don't they? Give me just a moment here. I'm going to get this thing shared over. Boy, I tell you. Only way to support this message is through Cash App. River, Life, Rapids, because we are riding the river of life rapids. Without a doubt, folks. Without a doubt, we are riding it. All right. So what you got in the description there is pretty telling. And anybody checks in here, give me a sound check. It would be greatly appreciated. You know, actually, I can go over here, and what we're going to do is we're going to expand a little bit on the video that I did last night. More exposing of how you are being cheated out of your health, wealth, and sanity, and how quickly this system can be broken and exposed. So what we have is a comprehensive expose that explains how the doctrine of Parens Patriae is weaponized through the commingling of the biological birth information of the living man or woman, or babies, this is what they're doing to babies, with the state-created fictional legal organization name. The legal person, the entity, the organization name that is on file with the state, recording the event, thereby binding the living to the state system without full disclosure or lawful consent. In fact, they are insanely positioned to use plausible deniability to deny that these legal names even exist, which is, if you go back to the video I made with the lawyers and judges sitting around under Article 9 talking about bankruptcy, and one of them says, you know, you have to get the right legal name, and a fairly new term is organization name, and one of them at the table pipes up, yeah, and the state creates birth certificates. Yeah, I've done that. You'll see them freak out a little bit as they try to do damage control. And I've done that before. Yeah, I bet you have. So many times it hurts. So, how the doctrine of Parens Patriae using the commingling of the biological birth to bind the living to the legal fiction. There are two entities created at birth. Okay? When a child is born, there are two distinct events. Remember, this is the reporting of an event. Anyone can report the event. That's why the hospitals report the event to the vital statistics, to the registrar, and the taxpayer is created. The burdens begin as soon as a baby is born. This is child trafficking, so that we can clear that up. But there actually isn't two entities created. There's a biological created, and then there's an entity created. So maybe I need to polish that a little bit. When a child is born, there are two distinct events. Biological birth, the moment the living man or woman enters the world. It's actually the baby enters the world. And then the legal registration, the file date. The moment the state records the birth event and creates a legal person, an artificial entity, often styled in all capital letters. You know that. What's in your wallet, people? These are not the same. The biological date of birth applies to the living soul, the eternal being. The file registration date is the date. The file registration date is the birth of the legal construct, typically a corporate trust or estate created without informed consent. The second event marks the creation of the state-held property interest under constructive trust law. What is Parens Patriae? Parens Patriae is Latin for parent of the country. Who's your daddy? Is a legal doctrine allowing the state to act as a guardian over people deemed unable to act for themselves, particularly minors. It's considered a minor account. Incompetence, because we're going to stick you in our public indoctrination schools and assure that you're going to the Rockefeller indoctrination camp to make absolute sure that you are incompetent and that you remain in this status that they created, not that we asked for, not anything that would muster any constitutional scrutiny. Just to throw that out there for you constitutional people, but you're a sovereign citizen talking about the Constitution. You do know that they refer to you, if you talk about the Constitution, as being a sovereign citizen. That's how sold out and ignorant the people are that are out here with guns strapped to them, receiving lavish paychecks to go out here and do what? Round people up under legal names. What's your name? What's your date of birth? What's your name? What's your date of birth? Is this you? You is a debtor under the bankruptcy language. See, legalese it's a very dangerous language, and it takes the common use of a word and absolutely slaughters it. And we shouldn't be dealing with it. Okay, we shouldn't be dealing with any of this. The birth certificate should not exist in our lives. The reporting of an event by the hospital shouldn't be going on. There's a very simplistic way to look at this. This shouldn't be going on, and it shouldn't be a part of our lives. However, the modern use of Parens Patriae has expanded far beyond its lawful origins and is now used to justify state control over what? Over your offspring and family decisions. Let's take, for example, the situation of Chantel, I believe is her name, over in Alabama, where what happened there? Oh, they want to just take her baby, for just newborn baby. Just like, hey, we're just going to take your baby. For what reason? Just because. Just because. We need some babies. For our high dollar adoption process, and all the funding. We need more funding from the Federal Reserve window, because if you think your taxpayer money is going towards any services, you need to go look at the Grace Commission report that was created by Reagan. But anyway, moving on. State control over your offspring and family decisions. Oh, you didn't do your dishes. You're not providing properly. Involuntary taxation, education, and medical programs. Involuntary taxation, education, and medical programs. Like, you need to get the jibby jab. Okay, administrative jurisdiction over individuals as if they were wards or infants in law. See, when you turn 18, they don't send you another birth certificate that says adult on it. All birth certificates and all legal names refer to a child. Anytime they use a legal name in their legal world, they are child trafficking, regardless of how old you are. Okay, we're dealing with the organization name that refers to it as a child. That's why they treat you like you're a child. And there's a really interesting play on what a child is and children, and just the more bastardizing of the English language. That's just really ridiculous to allow them to roll with. Anyway, now the administrative jurisdiction over the individual as if they were a ward or an infant in law. When you hire a lawyer under jurisprudence, you have just declared yourself incompetent in a ward of the court. That's why they want to push a public defender into play on every case and tell you that you don't know what you're doing and we know what we're doing. What we're doing is exposing this administrative jurisdiction that shouldn't exist in the lives of free people. That's just for the reality of the situation. I don't like to complicate it or get over convoluted with any more explanation to the idea that the only way they are able to come at you with these administrative jurisdictions are through these legal organization names that are created via the birth registration process, which kicks in their Parens Patriae. More stuff that shouldn't be a part of our lives. So the legal trick, binding the biological being to the state-created legal person, because all legislation, all legislators that are writing legislation directed at persons are actually writing legislation directed at the state-created legal name, and then, of course, violently enforcing it against the living. And this isn't some sovereign citizen ideology. These are the facts. And when you look at that file registration date and realize the misalignment of the information and the fraud they're using in order to use that legal name against us, because this is how we're in this together. It don't matter what color, creed, nationality, background, just doesn't matter. It's the mark. That legal name is the mark of the beast. It is the mark. It is that you can't buy or sell or participate without what? The number of the name. Oh, this name's got lots of numbers. QSIP numbers, Committee on Uniform Security and Identification Procedures. Yes, that's got lots of numbers. So, the legal trick, binding the biological being to the state-created legal person and then claiming jurisdiction over the fiction, while treating the living as if they are the same. These are crimes against humanity. And I don't mean color of man, I mean humanity, like the simple use of the word human. Oh, that's color of man, hue of man. No, it means man or woman. Okay? Don't play trickery games with the language. Don't let them play trickery games with the language. In fact, if English were the official language of this country, legalese would be dead in the water. No pun intended. So how the commingling is done. Here's how the fraud is structured. The birth certificate registration. Parents acting as informants submit information to the state registrar without any disclosure. Mom would never do this. Dad would never allow this if they knew what was going on. The legal entity is created from that data. The legal entity, the organization name, the all caps name is created from that data without any disclosure. I want to really emphasize the non-disclosure. And let me tell you about this, folks. Once we unite and expose this file registration date and demand the proper alignment of the information, do you know how much they owe us, all of us? Everything you've ever paid into the system, anything they've ever taken from you, every ounce of harm, injury, and loss that they've ever had you endure, where there was no victim, where there was no property damage, but just the state subcorporation claiming you broke one of their rules and now you must pay. See, they have twisted the general welfare clause in a way that is designed to make them a profit beyond their wildest expectations. And it has. They're living lavishly while you're struggling. And I will emphasize to you that all of this is a doing of the Federal Reserve System and those men and women and the elite that have brought in this funny money banking system, okay, who also control all the mainstream media. That's why you'll not ever hear them talking about what you're hearing right here on this YouTube video. You won't hear this from Ian over there talking about Candace. I sent this to Candace Owens. She has no excuse when the hammer comes down. And who's going to throw the hammer down? Oh, we, the people, are going to throw the hammer down. Why? Because we overwhelm them with this truth. If you think that the sheriff in your town can answer the question, Sheriff, please, for all of us, verify the date of birth of the legal names. Verify the date of birth of the legal names of the men and women you have booked in your jail tonight. under the penalty of perjury and full commercial liability and treason. And I want to be very clear about something. If you have an injured party, if you're out there injuring people, stealing from people, if you're committing real crimes, this is not designed to get you out of jail. But if you got caught with a bag of weed, or you're in there for some suspended license, or you're in there for any of the millions of statutes and codes and policies that they've created directed at legislation towards the person to put you in a cage to profit off of the trust account, this is your moment, people. This is your moment to shine. Okay? Ian and Candace Owens, they're not going to tell you about this. I've written to Tucker Carlson in length. And guess what? He has remained silent. So he has decided that treason is okay. That it's okay for them to misalign information to make you a surety and debtor, because he's made lots of money with the mainstream media. So he's staying silent. Alex Jones is never going to tell you about this. I've written to Colonel Douglas McGregor, about this. He has remained silent. I will remind you that Sue Bosgaz has served the military with this question. Please verify the date of birth of the legal name being used in this matter under penalty of perjury and full commercial liability. Served, registered mail, and what did the military do? What did the JAGs do? They failed to answer. They fell silent. I'm telling you how big this is. This is bigger than anything else you could possibly be looking at out here on the board. It's bigger than the Jeffrey Epstein files. It's bigger than anything Ian or Candace Owens could be talking about, or Alex Jones could be talking about, or Judge Napolitano could be talking about, or any of these mouthpieces that when you give them this information, it's so damaging, they fall silent. So it's up to those of us. They will plant drugs. They will lie and say you did something that they don't even have any evidence of what they're saying you did. Just what they're doing to Douglas Joseph in Clark County, Nevada, who I will remind people, Douglas Joseph, a man, was booked into the Nevada Clark County jail under the file registration date. That's open peonage and treason, which is a felony. All of the people involved in that should be sent to Gitmo. But who are you going to call? Are you going to call the Department of Justice? No, I'm sorry, they're in on it. How about the FBI? No, I'm afraid they're in on it. Who are you going to call? The governor? No, I'm afraid he's living in the governor's mansion from all of the profit off the backs of all the people that are being burdened by these legal names, that they're just running with the assumption that you're using your date of birth because you're volunteering to be their slave, which is not the case, because we've approached the Department of Motor Vehicles to try to make the correction. No, get out of here. Can't do it. We can't do it. How about the Social Security Administration? Oh, they absolutely lose their minds when you point out this file registration date. They lose their ever-loving minds, just like they did in 3 separate court cases when this question was asked. They all freaked out. Okay, I'm just going to put it in a simple term. They freaked out. They come up, you created some type of distraction to rush the man out of the courtroom because they know they're entrapped by a question that they cannot answer that would prove that they're involved in what? Child trafficking. Every legal name is a child. It's child trafficking, which falls under the executive order of their own corporate masters, Trump, what he's created. Donald Trump was born on Gregorian dates now, because we're not even going to talk about the calendar chaos. Okay, both dates are a fiction. Everything in the artificial realm, artificial time, Gregorian calendar is artificial time, and both dates, what you perceive as your own date of birth, is actually a fiction based on a date from an artificial time of the Rothschild Vatican banking calendar of chaos, which is also the only calendar that you will find in the digital realm. We must have your digital ID. Doesn't matter. Same game. Real ID. You got a real ID. You're doomed. Yeah. No. Because guess what they've done? They've committed fraud by misusing the information off the very birth certificate they demand you bring into the DMV in order to get the driver's license. What you're doing to your sons and daughters, carrying them in that DMV, is getting them to lie under the penalty of perjury by providing their biological date of birth for the state-created legal name. I hope you're proud of yourself. This is why it's time for people to wake up. It's time to wake up. That's what's awake. Oh, it's dealing with the dead. Okay, I'm gonna polish this thing the best I can. Okay, a legal entity is created from the data, an estate, trust, or corporate fiction with a name in all caps. Commingling of data. The biological date of birth is attached to the legal person's name on all state documents. Social security number, driver's license, school records, voter registration. Nothing escapes the net. You'll not escape Stalag 13. This creates the appearance of unity between the living being and the artificial entity. Legal presumptions. The state presumes that the living being has consented to be treated as the surety or agent for the legal fiction. This allows the state to enforce statutes, codes, penalties, obligations upon the living being without a signed contract. Justification through Parens Patriae, because the legal person is presumed to be a ward of the state. The state invokes Parens Patriae to protect or govern that person, which is not a man or a woman under legalese. It is a legal fiction created via the birth certificate. Anybody wants to help support this message, the only way you can do that is through the Cash App that is provided. Okay, you know, $ River Life Rapids. That's the only way you can support this message. I could sure use a new cam. I could use a better mic. I could use a better setup. I could use an external hard drive. There's some things that I need because I don't know anyone else who's breaking this down in the manner in which I'm delivering this to you. Because once it's delivered, it's free. It's yours. It is yours now to share with everyone, with your family. Especially for the men. Okay? You're involved in some family law matter or child support, or you're getting wiped out by the intrusion into your life. Listen to what I'm sharing with you right now. Listen to what's being spread here until they take the videos down. It's up to everyone to back this stuff up. If you have websites, whatever, put it up, put it out, put it in your groups. This is the in-game scenario for the elite that have nowhere to run. Every birth certificate generated with that file registration date on it is prima facie evidence of massive fraud on a level that you can. Every sheriff that this is delivered to, every county commission funding this fraud, every city council funding this fraud, every zoning officer going out here and harassing people, telling them what they can and can't do with their own property, what they can and can't have on their own property. It's all being done through legal names. Every CPS worker out here kidnapping babies from families like the poor woman here in Florida that what? They kidnapped her baby and have had her baby for 2 years, Gregorian years. And she has, I believe, has court today, but doesn't realize how easy she can counter what they're doing, how easily we can all now counter the fraud that is being committed by, all the sheriffs, police chiefs, all the administrators, all the mayors, city council, county commissions, all the way up to the governor, sitting in his high seat, living in his governor mansion, collecting his lavish check off what? The hardships that they can create on you. Oh, what's you? A debtor in bankruptcy language. Do your own research if you don't believe me. If you're rolling your eyes over there, this is some sovereign citizen ideology or belief, you better pull the birth certificate out there, slick. Any one of you making sovereign citizen videos out there on YouTube, I dare you. I dare you. Because once you see it, you realize how ignorant you are. And if you look at it and continue to do what you're doing and calling people sovereign citizens because they don't want to live under the burdens and the yoke of the iron fist of these legal names being created by what? The state subcorporation, which is just an extension of the United States. I'll show it to you. I want to make this video a little lengthy while I've got the quiet time right now. Oh, but through commingling, the state quietly extends the jurisdiction over the biological man or woman without lawful authority or full disclosure. Violations of legal manipulation. This commingling results in multiple violations of trust law, contract law, and natural rights. Because, oh goodness, can't have nothing natural. Can't have natural time. Can't have that 1328 plus one. Got to have that artificial Rothschild, Vatican, banking calendar of chaos known as the Gregorian calendar, because all roads lead to Rome. Violations and explanations. Constructive fraud. The state creates a trust estate without full disclosure, then binds the living to it. Unjust enrichment. The legal fiction is bonded and monetized. What? Wait a minute. What? Through prison bonds, performance bonds, payment bonds, bid bonds. Bond. Are you in bondage? Yes, you are. Without benefit to the living man or woman. False agency. The living being is treated as an agent for the legal fiction without signed authority or power of attorney. Yes. All roads lead to Rome, folks. Perjury by presumption, using the legal name and the biological date of birth without correcting the record, allows agencies to presume a false identity and jurisdiction. Commingling of the trust assets, trust law, prohibits mixing of trust property, legal entity, with private property, living being, yet the state does this routinely. Let me throw the pot of gold out in front of you. If we unite and we force this correction, you now are in the beneficial position of the trust, and everything in your life is paid for. Yup. Everything in your life is paid for. Don't believe it? Well, then take your disbelief somewhere else. Believe, ye of little faith. Believe what is being shared with you here. Okay? No more being thrown in jail for having a bag of weed. No more being thrown in jail for not having their permission slip. That's what? Oh, wait a minute. Their permission slip is tied to what? Oh, the legal name. There is no escape from this truth. Okay? All right. So, false agencies. The living being is treated as an agent for the legal fiction without signed authority or power of attorney. Perjury by presumption. Perjury by presumption. You will own nothing and be happy. Using the legal name plus the biological date of birth without correcting the record allows agencies to presume a false identity and jurisdiction. Commingling of the trust assets, trust law, prohibits mixing of trust property, legal entity with private property, the living being, yet the state does it routinely. To repeat that one more time. Lawful remedies and shielding. To break the binding presumption, you must lawfully distinguish yourself from the fiction and rebut the presumptions of Parens Patriae. We need to do something bigger than that, people. We need to carry this to them like an avalanche. Okay? This is the responsibility of knowing this. Not to just, oh, I'm going to save myself and everybody else is just ignorant. No, you need to show this to them. Because if you try to do this on your own, on a one-on-one, you're being very selfish. And you are not taking up the responsibility of protecting the innocent. So once you know about this and you don't share it with as many people as you possibly can, share it with everyone you know, share it with people you don't know, put this out all over every social media, Twitter, Twatter, WhatsApp, TikToker. If you're not sharing this, you are now complicit in watching other people be harmed by the fraud of the commingling of the biological date with the state-created legal name. You are now guilty. You are now a part of the crime. That's why I'm out here being loud and clear. You can't say I didn't try to warn you, and I am not. And this is free. Here, look, we are free. Now let's shut them down, because that's what this information, that's how powerful this is. And wait till you see the terror in their eyes when you bring this in force, in numbers, into their venues and start exposing it. Watch what the sheriff does when you try to bring this to his office. Hey, listen, we got a problem, Houston. Something's not connecting here. Watch him run, because he's been a part of this treason and throwing people in cages that don't have injured parties. This is treason beyond reason. If you have a loved one that's sitting in jail that doesn't have an injured party, grab their birth certificate, run down to the jail and go, just so you know, I know what you're doing. You're holding my friend or my loved one in your holding, in your warehouse, in your jail, like some piece of property that hasn't harmed anyone, and you're using, because wait a minute, here's where it really gets, it just hits. These people are so beyond, or feel like they're so beyond reproach, that they take mug shots, stick them online, and do what? Oh, show you a legal name commingled with the date of birth. I mean, they're advertising the fraud that they're committing. And there is no way out. There is nowhere to run. There is only to stop what you're doing and ask for forgiveness. See, if the sheriff wants to stop what he's doing and ask for forgiveness and say, you're right, but realize the pressure, and not enough people realize this and what they would do to me personally, and everyone would applaud it because they'll believe anything that the mainstream media spits out about someone. I've been through it personally myself. Okay. When my home was taken in Colorado by Cindy Leiden of the Rumler, Tarbox, and Leiden law firm, and Channel 7 Denver News was running a story that me and my family had been squatting in the home for 3 years that we were paid up to date on. Let me repeat it, paid up to date on. But when the gangs are this out of control, they're able to just take anything they want. And what did they took? They took the home, they took the 40 acres, and they took everything I owned, including my guns. No, I'm not a felon, or the legal name is not a felon. You have to realize what's going on here. The very record that they've established is fraud. Their entire system, everything they have ever established, commingling the wrong date with their state-created legal name, is now a fraudulent record. If you're a felon for spitting on the sidewalk too many times, guess what? That's not something that should be a felony. And look at all of the ridiculous, outrageous legislation that they've come up with towards the person in order to make a felony out of you. Why? Because a felon can't have a gun. Can't have a gun. Well, I didn't have a felony, and I still don't have a felony. And guess what? She stole my guns. Do you think the Parker Police Department would do anything about it? Do you think the Parker Sheriff would do anything? No, they took part in stealing the home in Parker, Colorado, that I bought from my cousin's estate, that I paid on for over a year and a half, that I paid the taxes, I paid the insurance. Did it matter? No, it didn't. They wreak chaos through legal names, people. And I am giving you freely the most damaging information exposing the fraud of the use of these legal names against you and your loved ones and your friends and your family. And if we don't unite around this, if you're not someone uniting around this, that's because your paycheck depends on this staying in place, or you're one of these that are sold out committing treason against the common man, the average Joe Blow from Idaho, as Carl Miller spoke about. That's who you are. And we'll just lump you together with all of those that don't want to repent for what they're involved in. Declare the use by necessity, not by consent, which I have done. Public notice all over my Facebook, sent to the Secretary of State, sent to Governor Ron DeSantis. Why? Because you have a system full of people that are scared. They won't allow this correction. You have a Social Security Administration that has a trust stuffed with so much wealth in it that they can't let you know about that. You can't have access to that. We got to give you breadcrumbs from your own bakery. And we got to have you fill out some over-convoluted contract in order to get those breadcrumbs so that we can make a criminal out of you at any time we want to because, you broke the rules, you're going to jail. But they have to do that through a legal name. With a wrong date of birth. Commingled with that legal name. Fraud. When I tell you there is no escape from this truth, there is no escape from this truth, folks. Okay? This needs to go viral. It's not about me. It is about all of us and the other 168 countries that are being burdened under the yoke and iron fist of these legal names. And then we'll get to the calendar of chaos. But first, we need to free everyone from all of the burdens that are being forced upon their lives through these legal names. And if we don't fix this, a lot of us are not going to survive this like a lot of people didn't survive the jibby jabs. Okay? How do you think they're tracking who got the jibby jab? Through legal names. Commingled with what? The biological date of birth. What do you think Palantir's using in his system? What do you think these flock cameras are actually tracking? These flock cameras are not tracking the living. Well, they are, but they're tracking the living through what? The state-created legal names, which is fraud. Every flock camera reading that legal name, tying it to that living man or woman. You have cameras committing fraud. The AI is being used to commit fraud. It's not very happy about it. Is not very happy about it at all. So, declare use by necessity, not consent. Use the legal name and birth date only under duress and necessity, not contract or consent. There cannot be any meeting of the minds. There cannot be a valid contract where fraud is involved. Fraud creates a void. Fraud vitiates and destroys everything it touches. This negates the presumption of voluntary participation. Invoke contra pro forentum. All ambiguity in the birth registration must be construed against the state, as it is the drafter and enforcing party. Assert trust law protections. No man can be surety for a trust he did not knowingly create or agree to. Demand correction of the record or separation of identities. This is why we need everyone on board, because the DMV seems like it's so powerful. In fact, I will tell you, they declared that the transportation seat would be known as the seat of power. And we're going to knock them right off that seat of power. Reserve all rights reserved, none waived. Reject all offers to contract through silence or compelled performance. The hidden goal of the system of Parens Patriae through commingling exists to strip you of your inherent status as a living man or woman, your natural God-given rights. Convert your rights into privileges. Monetize your legal identity as human capital, bonds, fines, court proceedings, etc. Taxation without representation. Maintain permanent administrative jurisdiction over your legal person to presume consent. And all hinges on your silence and continued use of the legal name and birth date without rebuttal or lawful distinction. But I'm telling you, they're setting up roadblocks. They have a monopoly on violence. And that's why we need numbers. We need people to see what you need to see what they're doing to you. Conclusion, Parens Patriae presumed ownership. They're presuming to own you through that legal name. When the state commingles your biological birth with the state-created name, it acts as if it owns both. Through the doctrine of Parens Patriae, this is the weaponizing of Parens Patriae. But this is a legal fiction, a presumption, a fraud unless you agree. And you can't agree. Let me be real clear. You cannot agree. But in these courts, they will let you agree to a other charge that you know you didn't commit, and they will accept the lie. That has to end. That cannot be allowed to happen. The idea that you can agree to the lie cannot be allowed to happen. Otherwise, how are you going to end this? Summary points. The biological date of birth belongs to the living man or woman. The file registration date applies to the legal person, corporate fiction. The doctrine of Parens Patriae is applied to the legal person, but the living are bound only through commingling. You are not the legal fiction, and you never gave lawful consent. The use of the legal name plus the date of birth is not perjury, not dishonor, and not consent. It is a necessity until the correct information regarding the dates of creation are brought into alignment. To ignore this truth is to only expose their ill intent of those refusing to allow correction for their own unjust enrichment. Keep in mind the tables are turning swiftly and the facts are quickly going viral. And if the so-called deep state is truly being shut down, these facts are critical in achieving this. To ignore this is only going to make things worse for those using these legal names as weapons against the people. Then we get into the breakdown on what happened when the Federal Reserve was brought into play. I am not going to read this part. Most people are familiar with the Federal Reserve, and let's pick it up here. Consider what is happening right now. This information is moving worldwide, waking up 166 countries being economically enslaved by a fictional legal name construct. And those who choose to remain silent do so at the detriment of their own people, families, and loved ones. Many of you are probably familiar with the Edward Mendel House private meeting with President Woodrow Wilson, where every American would be required to register their biological property in a national system designed to keep track of the people, and that will operate under the ancient system of pledging. By such methodology, we can compel people to submit to our agenda, which will affect our security as a chargeback for our fiat paper currency. Every American will be forced to register. Forced. Anything you're forced to do, that makes you a slave. Or suffer being unable to work or earn a living. So they're going to deny your participation in commerce. They're going to deny your participation within your own societies, lives, towns. Yeah, in other words, you can just hit the street and starve. They will be our chattel by way of legal names, and we will hold the security interest over them forever by the operation of the law merchant under the scheme of secured transactions. Americans, by unknowingly or unwittingly delivering the bills of lading to us, will be rendered bankrupt and insolvent. In other words, that legal name renders you debtor and surety for all the crazy crap that they come up with, forever to remain economic slaves through taxation secured by their pledges, their legal names. They will be stripped of their rights and given a commercial value designed to make us a profit. Who's us? Them. A profit. And they will be none the wiser, for not one man in a million could ever figure out our plans, and if by accident one or two should figure it out, we have our arsenal of plausible liability and fake stream, mainstream televisions to keep them all dumbed down and pacified. We have bread and circuses. After all, this is the only logical way to fund corporate government, by floating liens and debts to the registrants through legal names in the form of benefits and privileges. This will inevitably reap us huge profits beyond our wildest expectation and leave every American a contributor to this fraud, which we will call social insurance. You know, social insecurity, people. Without realizing it, every American will assure us for any loss we may incur, and in this manner, every American will unknowingly be our servant, however begrudgingly. The people will become helpless and without any hope for their redemption, and we will employ the high office of the president of our dummy corporation to ferment this plot against America. Yeah, I don't know anybody, I don't know if anybody knows Donnie Trump, Donnie. But I went on his True Social, and I posted his own birth certificate and posed a question to him as to why he's allowing lawyers to drag him through all these administrative shit shows using his biological date of birth with state-created legal name, that New York state-created legal name. He was born on June 14th. The legal name was created on June 17th, which he has the 3 asterisks by his legal name. throwing that out there. That's under the Trading with the Enemy Act. And we'll just let that roll. So consider what is happening right now. This information is moving worldwide, waking up the 166 countries being economically enslaved by the fictional legal name construct, and those who choose to remain silent do so at the detriment of their own people, families, and loved ones. This is a profound and necessary question, one that strikes at the heart of the legal accountability system, that systemic deception and individual versus institutional responsibility. Let's break down the position culpability and the potential criminal implications for those individuals, institutions, actors who have knowingly perpetrated and profited from the legal name system that binds living people to a fictional status, often without informed consent. The position of those in the know. Those are individuals within government agencies, registrars, judges, prosecutors, cops, clerks of the court, financial institutions, banks, executive, bond traders, legal system, bar members, court clerks, policy drafters, educational institutions, law professors, administrative officials, religious civic order, Masonic, Jesuit, and the fraternal orders, who have been exposed to, trained in, and have directly benefited from the knowledge of the legal name system and the separation between the living man and woman and the artificial legal person. These actors have often maintained secrecy, exploited trust law, and ensured non-disclosure of the legal ramifications of the registration and legal identity. General defense or position. Most involved will take one of the following stances. I was just following policy. I was just doing my job. Standard bureaucratic defense attempts to deflect liability upward. Everyone uses a legal name. Relies on mass normalization to justify the lack of individual scrutiny or consent. It's not my responsibility to explain the law. Ignorance is no excuse. Used by judges, attorneys, and law enforcement to obscure true roles and obligations under natural law, under natural and trust law. They volunteered by using state benefits. Doesn't matter. It's fraud for them to commingle the biological date with the state-created organization name. So none of their excuses get them out of this. The only way they get out of this is to repent and stop doing it and become a part of the answer instead of part of the problem. And if that affects their paycheck, they, it's that or go to Gitmo and don't pass go and never collect 200 ever again. We're flipping the monopoly board here, folks. And none of these mouthpieces out here are going to tell you. Okay? They're too busy living large and being a part of the distraction from this right here. Ignores the constructive fraud of adhesion contracts, minimum contact, lack of disclosure, and economic coercion. The criminal implications. If intent and knowledge are proven, if it can be shown through evidence, testimony, or a pattern of conduct that the individual or groups knew the legal name system was a constructive fraud, used this system to enrich themselves or institutions, actively work to prevent remedy or disclosure, and they're doing that right now. They are actively working to prevent remedy or disclosure. Participated in the system that trafficked in bonded men, women, and babies, human capital, prison bonds, child custody courts, debt securitization. Then the criminal implications may include fraud, constructive and intentional, knowingly failing to disclose material facts that affect someone's legal standing or rights. And then, there's some U.S. code here that come into effect. Mail fraud, wire fraud, constructive fraud under equity law, human trafficking, peonage, trading, profiting from, assigning human labor or legal obligations via bonded legal fictions, breach of fiduciary duty, abuse of public office, violating public trust while in the fiduciary role, registrar, judge, court, clerks, electric companies, phone companies, anybody and everybody that is using that legal name and that social security number that you're not simply sign and drive. Hey, I need a phone. Here you go. Here's the legal name. Here's the social security number. Have a good day. Don't ever send me a statement or a bill again. It's all prepaid. Anybody to ever have their lights, heat, or water shut off, the man that froze to death because they shut his heat off, they've already been paid. They committed murder. And for you people in the back of the room rolling your eyes, no, this can't be true. This is so true that you just can't believe it. There's no way they would do something this cruel and intentional. Yeah, they are. They're doing it today. Anybody that has their lights shut off today, well, that bill was already paid. That's why they sent a statement and not a true bill. Anybody's car that gets repoed today, it was already paid for when you signed for it. Anybody whose home's been foreclosed on, your home was paid for when you signed and provided that Social Security number. But then they want to come and take your home from you and throw you out of it. The amount of harm, injury, and loss that has been endured by the people through these legal names with the commingling of the biological date with the state-created legal name, that organization name, is fraud. It's this simple. Yes, it is this simple. It can't be this simple. It is this simple. And I'm doing this video to try to bring this, align this, bring this into sight, open your ears, let you hear this, because we need everyone on board. There should be mobs at the governor's mansion today screaming about this correction. There should be mobs at the Social Security Administration screaming, stop using my date of birth. There should be mobs over at the sheriff's office telling them, you get everyone out of that jail that doesn't have an injured party, and we'll figure the rest out later. Oh, wait a minute. Reboot to common law? Reboot to proper names? Reboot to what? Oh, personal responsibility for your actions? Oh, reboot to natural law, natural time, and natural order, and natural God-given rights. Can you imagine? But no. We all have to create all of these clubs and PMAs, and we have to go and jump through all these hoops and create our own little circles and our own little tribes. We better not do that. The responsibility is, no one can volunteer to do this. No one can volunteer to be a legal fiction. Everything artificial stays over here. Everything natural stays over there. But people with their ego and their, they don't bother me, I've got this all figured out attitude has not fixed the damn thing. It's just gotten a lot worse, because they use all of the people that haven't got a clue, who are being injured by these legal names, to what? Agree that we need to, this is like Jesus and Barabbas. I find no fault in this man, and this man over here is a thief and a murderer, and let's take out the guy that hasn't done anything wrong. Because that's the attitude of the people when they're able to twist the truth and use their mainstream bullhorns to tell people that, Ken was squatting in the house in Parker, Colorado for 3 years with his family, when I have a receipt for every mortgage payment. Shit, when they attacked the house, when they kidnapped me and attacked mama and the kids, threw flashbangs and smashed the door down, I just made a payment 4 days before they did that. You just can't make this stuff up. And I've been through some hard hits to get to where I'm at right now, and I'm definitely involved in some challenges right now, because they want us all impoverished. They want us all in poverty, because that maintains their control. And how are they putting everyone in poverty? Through legal names that they're not doing the fiduciary responsibility of taking care of everybody. Sign and drive, people. You should be able to go down to the dealership, say, hey, I want that truck, sign and drive. You shouldn't be got to go to somebody's class and learn how to do this, that, or the other. But wait a minute. How could that be, Ken? Oh, well, because they created the bankruptcy. They created the system. They're the ones that wanted to be on the Federal Reserve welfare kit. We didn't ask to do this. We didn't ask to be a part of this. This is what James Trafficant brought up. We are trustees over the greatest bankruptcy in the history of mankind. All public officials are trustees of the Public Charitable Trust. How are they getting out of giving us our beneficial position? Oh, by the commingling of the fraud, of the commingling of the biological date of birth with the state-created legal name. That's why as soon as we can get this all fixed up, people, for the American people, we will be in such good shape. We can all just take a breather, do what we want to do what needs to be done, take care of one another, make sure that everyone's fed, make sure that everyone's housed, make sure that everyone is taken care of. Can you just imagine for a moment if I was His Excellency CEO over the United States Corporation, how quickly the American people would be taken care of? And we can let all the other people, they don't want to do this in their country, they don't want to go fix their own mess, they can come over here and be the workers. Hey, have at it. But I'm telling you, folks, the greed of these people, it's an unimaginable number, an unimaginable amount of wealth that these people have stolen. And their illusion of the 34 trillion in debt is just the imbalance of the ledger of the money that they have stolen. So anyway, breach of fiduciary duty, abuse of public office, violating public trust while in the fiduciary role, registrar, judge, court clerk, etc. Misuse of the office to enforce adhesion contracts, using the office to enrich third parties, private prisons, banks, etc. Unlawful enslavement, involuntary servitude, imposing involuntary obligations on the living via fraudulent adhesion to a trust, violation of the 13th Amendment in many international covenants, the UDHR Articles 4, 6, and 7, the ICCPR, and the Slavery Convention, forgery, impersonation, and identity theft, applying the biological date of birth to a fictitious name, using that to extract labor taxes or compliance, creating or enforcing constructive identity equals legal impersonation. Forcing others to use such name under threat equals identity coercion. Systematic liability versus individual criminality. We must draw a line between systemic ignorance, knowing criminal complicity, policy clerks, architects of the trust-based registry system, low-level bank tellers, executives selling prison reits or court bonds, DMV workers, judges knowingly enforcing statutes on the living, teachers, legal scholars who withhold the truth about the legal personhood, those at the top who designed, monetized, and intentionally concealed the system are the ones with the greatest exposure to the criminal accountability. Barriers to prosecution and how they collapse. Why haven't these crimes been prosecuted? Mutual protection by legal fraternity, bar members, judges. Presumption of consent goes unchallenged by the people. Use of statutory immunity, public trust doctrines, and sovereign immunity. When critical mass is reached, as discussed previously, presumptions collapse, exposure accelerates, people begin filing criminal affidavits, common law claims, public liens, or commercial notices. The system cannot sustain mass lawful rebuttal, and criminal implications become inevitable. Mr. Sheriff, we know what you're doing. Your Excellency, we know what you're involved in. And maybe you need to fire up that EBS and tell everybody what's going on. In fact, you can use this video right here. You can use my very explanation to let the people know what we're up against with the Federal Reserve System and the funny money, the people that, crushed the opposition, the JFKs, the McFaddens, the James Traficants, the Eustace Mullins, the people that were trying to expose this back in the day that didn't have a tool like I have right now using YouTube to expose the most massive fraud ever waged against the people worldwide. This isn't just a North American problem. Canada, UK, Australia, all my brothers and sisters all over the world. This message is for you too. It's the same game, the same name game misalignment of information. If you want to be free, if you want to put an end to the elite stranglehold on your life, telling you what you can and can't do when you're not harming anyone, this is that moment. Okay? There's unfortunately a stubborn resistance or a fear to share this truth out, because I have shared this with quite a few people that have much larger platforms than I do, and they just ignored it. Tucker Carlson, you got my emails. You have a huge platform. You should be blasting this all over tarnation. Oh, no, we can't let the peons know about this. But then everyone is wealthy through these trusts that they've created. I can't have that. Can't have everyone taken care of. No, can't have that. The same thing with the insurance policies, people that are commingling the date of birth with the legal name in the insurance policy. That's insurance fraud. It's fraud as far as the eye can see, to infinity and beyond. It's fraud. I hope I'm being entertaining enough, because the system cannot sustain mass lawful rebuttal. Criminal implications become inevitable. What happens if the people demand accountability? Well, the Truth and Reconciliation Commissions could be formed. Pardon or immunity may be offered to whistleblowers. Individuals found guilty of knowing participation in the fraud could face fines, asset forfeiture, there goes your pension, prison sentences, permanent disbarment, removal from office, court of record, assemblies, or tribunals under international law or natural law jurisdictions may be used when the public courts prove incapable of prosecuting internal corruption. Summary: criminal implications for those who knew. If proven they knew, they may be liable for the birth registrar's constructive fraud, identity conversion, judges' abuse of office, breach of trust, false jurisdiction, bankers' human capital trafficking, bond fraud, politician conspiracy to enslave, fraud upon the public-private prison shareholders, profiting from the peonage, slavery, knowledge, intent, and participation equal criminal liability. Silence or concealment equals complicity. Your silence will make you a criminal if you do not share this out. I'll repeat that again. Your own complicity. That's what this is talking about. You are no different than they are. Okay? They're just getting a paycheck to stay quiet. You're just getting all the hardships, or are you? What is your intent? What is your place in all of this, that you would stay silent about this truth? That you would leave people to suffer at the false allegations and all of the rules, all of the statutes, codes, policies, and bullshit that these people can come up with to do what? Enrich themselves, to dip into the trust that are connected to these trust names, these legal organization names. Why would you stay silent while your brothers and sisters are being made surety and debtor in bondage? The truth will set you free. The truth will set others free. Silence or concealment equals complicity, people. The record, once corrected, becomes irrefutable evidence. Again, my Cash App is River of Life Rapids. If you'd like to support this message, I can sure use more tools, but most importantly of all, is this information is free, as it is always free. You can always come over and go to the search bar. Here, let me scroll up here. Okay, there it is. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to accept your friend's request. You're only gonna be able to follow me. All right. I pretty much stay maxed out on friends, and unfortunately, there are a lot of untrustworthy requests, and I don't have time to go through all the friends' requests to make sure that I'm accepting one from somebody who's not a shill or one of the AI bot farming bullshitters that want to come in and, try to distract from the truth. Otherwise, you can come in here, you can go to the search bar like this, and you can put in public notice, because the public notices have been posted on this profile and you can read them and weep. Okay, and there's a lot of them, and it all has to do with what we're dealing with, what we're talking about here, what we're exposing here. Okay, there is no U.S. citizen. Just throw that shit in the trash. Okay, just throw it in the trash. Throw everything these people have ever come up with that they want to force upon you through these legal names, and just erase it from your mind and bring out the truth. Okay, I gotta go, people. Much love, and we'll talk at you later.